Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? It's time to get serious. Top three.
Yeah, top three today. And today at number 3, the San Antonio Spurs. But before we talk about them, here's a clip from last season.
You're happy if you're Thibodeau about that. Really, if you're Popovich, too. These are both teams that have not been defensively good.
What a pass, Ginobili behind the back.
That was one of the best passes I have ever seen.
The difficulty of that pass is so crazy. Like, that was beautiful. If you like basketball, you like that pass.
And if you like basketball and you like passing like that, you definitely like the San Antonio Spurs.
100%. But let's talk about this ranking for the Spurs. You think this is a fair ranking?
You know, with all their offseason moves and with all the hype they've gotten, sometimes you forget that they lost in the first round. And so I think this is slightly too high. And I'll explain myself throughout the podcast. But as a preseason ranking, I think this is a little bit too much hype. And I think they should be ranked a little bit lower.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. I thought you might maybe say you might want them higher, especially with the hype they've gotten, the moves they made. They definitely added some strong pieces. So I think the Spurs are in for a big year. They retooled really well. But let's talk about the key returners. We got Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan, Danny Green, Tony Parker, Patty Mills, Boris Diaw, Kyle Anderson. Guys coming back. Who do you like to have a big year?
Well, I think Tony Parker definitely has to get back to the level at which he was at before all like the hamstring injuries, and basically injuries have kind of zapped his effectiveness to an extent. He's never been a great mid-range shooter. He's definitely improved as he's gotten older to being a consistent three-point mid-range shooter that you have to at least account for. But his bread and butter is getting to the paint and hitting those floaters. He's definitely the best in the league. Him and Mike Conley, I think, are my top two guys with the most effective floaters in the lane. But with the injuries zapping a little bit of his quickness, it's been harder and harder for him to get into the paint. And he really is that engine that allows the Spurs offense to go. So at times last season, and sometimes even in the playoffs, you saw when Patty Mills was inserted, Patty Mills still has that quickness to get into the paint, and he's an incredible shooter. And so sometimes their offense was a lot more effective with Patty Mills on the court when compared to a little hobbled and a little slowed Tony Parker. So I think if Tony Parker can get back to the health he had when the Spurs were maybe not winning the championship every year, but an elite offensive team, I think this team will really, really challenge for a championship this season and not be out in the first round.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that because they really need Tony Parker to pick it up. A few seasons ago, people were really buying into him, loving his game. He was considered one of the best point guards in the league. And last year, like you said, Patty Mills came in sometimes and ran the offense a little bit better just because Tony Parker couldn't get things moving. He was definitely hobbled. But one guy I really love this season, I like to see what he adds to his game every year, is Kawhi Leonard. Defensively, he's such a monster, defensive player of the year. And I just think they expand his role a little bit more each season. But let's talk about offseason moves. Spurs made some big splashes. They added LaMarcus Aldridge, David West, Ray McComb. They signed John Simmons, Jimmer Fredette. They lost Splitter, Chris Josephs, Marco Bellinelli. A lot of turnover, but what do you like?
So just for everyone listening to the podcast right now, so as we're going through like these offseason moves, we have like a list that we look at. And so as Nick was reading down the list of the additions, he skipped over one dude on the list, and that's a foreign guy. So I really want you to try and say his name before we continue.
Oh, I actually do not have the list. That was actually off the top of the dome.
Oh, but, wow. Okay. Here, then I'll try to say his name. It's Boban Marjanovic. You know what Shaq says about dudes that end in Vich. The dude can probably shoot the ball.
Yeah, very true.
He's probably a professional shooter, and that's perfect for the Spurs. But as far as additions I like, of course, LaMarcus Aldridge is great. David West is great. I just want to give a shout out to John Simmons because he was so entertaining during the LA Summer League, or where was the Summer League? Las Vegas. That's right. The Las Vegas Summer League. John Simmons was a really, really, really entertaining player. Jimmer Fredette they added. Maybe they can revive his career. I don't know about that one. But wasn't Jimmer Fredette taken? Was he taken in front of Steph Curry, or was he after? Was his draft after Steph Curry?
I'm not sure, but I know he was taken in a similar range.
Let me look that up because I know actually he was taken after Steph Curry in terms of like draft year. But I remember someone really good being taken after Jimmer Fredette. And so let me look that up.
Yeah, Fredette was a crazy college player. He just never really did anything in the NBA. If someone's going to get the most out of his game, it's definitely Popovich. So,
all right, let's take a look at this. Shout out to Wikipedia for saving the day. All right, so Jimmer Fredette was selected 10th. Here are just some players that were selected after him. Klay Thompson, Alec Burks, both Morris brothers, Kawhi Leonard, Nick Vucevic, Iman Shumpert, Tobias Harris, Demo from Houston, Kenneth Faried, Mirotic, Reggie Jackson. Let's see. Marshawn Brooks had a decent little stint there with the Nets. Norris Cole, Corey Joseph, Jimmy Butler, Bojan Bogdanovic, Kyle Singler, Chandler Parsons. No, let me keep going. This is incredible.
Oh, my God.
Let's see if there's anyone else. Josh Selby is a name someone high school and college fans probably know. But, I mean, he didn't really do much in the NBA. And then, finally, Isaiah Thomas. Those were all players selected after Jimmer Fredette in the 2011 draft. Can you believe that?
Scouts need to get their game up.
That is incredible. But, yeah, let's stop bashing on Jimmer Fredette.
Who knows? Maybe you can give some nice three-point shooting to the Spurs. But we got to talk about the addition of LaMarcus Aldridge. That's a huge signing.
Yeah, man. I think LaMarcus coming to San Antonio will only extend his career even further. I think and it'll help Tim Duncan too. It'll extend his career further too, just because he won't have to play as many minutes. Can take rest days and not have to worry about the Spurs losing ground in the Western Conference. Just because LaMarcus is there to play those minutes. But in terms of helping LaMarcus out, Tim Duncan has been able to be so successful and so effective for so long, regardless of age. His game has evolved, and I think LaMarcus Aldridge can learn a lot from Tim Duncan in that aspect, in terms of taking care of your body when you get older, changing your game as you age as well. And so learning from David West and LaMarcus and Tim Duncan, I think LaMarcus Aldridge will take his game to a new level and be able to be more effective down the line.
Yeah, just the small things that Tim Duncan does, even David West, that can really help Aldridge take his game to the next level. I think a lot of people kind of sleep on LaMarcus Aldridge. They don't really know how talented he really is because he played in Portland and they probably didn't catch that much hype. But I really like his game. I think in the playoffs a year or two ago, he was just deadly. They couldn't even stop him at Houston.
Yeah, that series was incredible. That was the series, if you guys remember, it ended with Damian Lillard hitting that game-winning shot from three, the series-winning shot at home in Portland. So and he got a lot of the hype for that, but it's LaMarcus Aldridge that really helped Portland go. He was that engine.
Yeah, he's a big-time player. I also like the addition of David West. They got him, I think, for vets minimum?
Yeah, they got him for his scraps.
Nice contract. He's definitely going to come off the bench and give you some nice energy and toughness. He's probably one of the toughest players in the NBA. I would probably say he'd be on my top 5 I don't want to fight list if I was in the NBA.
Yeah, he's definitely the alleyway all-star. You take him in a dark alley with you.
Yeah, he's one tough dude. Any moves stick out that you didn't like that they lost? Or
well, as far as departures, I don't know why Marco Bellinelli wanted to leave San Antonio for Sacramento, but I mean, Bellinelli's an incredible shooter, and I don't know they still have Danny Green, of course, but as far as just pure shooting goes, at the wing position, they don't really have anyone that jumps off the page at you that can shoot similar to Marco Bellinelli. Maybe this Boban Marjanovic, I don't know anything about him. I don't even know how tall he is or his weight, but I'm just gonna assume he's a wing. And but regardless, he's probably gonna be able to shoot. So I wonder if he'll get any run. But I think that's a tough loss. And then now, like I know they traded away Thiago Splitter to Atlanta to create space in order to sign LaMarcus, but neither LaMarcus or Tim Duncan like playing center.
Very true.
So I assume both of them will start, and one of them is going to have to play center.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it might be Duncan just because Aldridge has complained about it a lot in the past.
Yeah, and Aldridge is Tim Duncan understands that LaMarcus he's at the final stage of his career, and LaMarcus is the guy now for this team along with Kawhi. So I think everything is featured or tailored to feature LaMarcus and Kawhi, and so the Spurs have done an incredible job of understanding when it's their time, like the players specifically. They've understood when it's their time to shine, and they take advantage of that. But as soon as their time is over, or someone else steps up and is ready to take that role, the Spurs do a great job of handing that role off, similar to what Tim Duncan did with Tony Parker when Tony Parker was coming up, and let's say 2007 till about two seasons ago. Really, it was the Tony Parker show, and Tim Duncan allowed that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. They do a great job of that. I mean, they're just a grade A organization. They just run so well from the front office to the head coach and to the players. They just have a great understanding of every aspect of probably basketball.
And one thing that I forgot to mention is Tim Duncan doesn't have the athleticism anymore, but he's so fundamentally sound, especially defensively, to where he's still one of the best defensive players in the league. When you need to stop, especially in the paint, you want Tim Duncan there. So I think just learning the fundamentals of the correct timing, where to be at certain spots. When the ball is in the corner, you want to be over here. When the ball is at the wing, you want to change your position this way. You want to front this way. All this kind of little intricate fundamental stuff Tim Duncan is so good at, which has allowed him to be a successful defender throughout his career, even with declining athleticism. I think LaMarcus Aldridge is going to learn so much about basketball intricacies from Pop and Duncan that he's really going to love it in San Antonio.
Yeah, and he can take that next step defensively. Like you said, Duncan does a great job positioning his body. He takes advantage of his size and his length. Like, he's not that athletic anymore, but he's still a big guy in the paint. So he does a great job locking down the paint. I even think maybe last year, did he get a vote or two for Defensive Player of the Year?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yes.
He's so consistent defensively. He's not going to get that huge block that makes everyone go crazy, but just his fundamentals are so good that he's reliable.
Yeah, you got to love Timmy. But let's talk X factor for the Spurs this year.
I mentioned earlier that Tony Parker's health is big time for this team. They definitely need him to be 100% and be able to get to the paint and collapse the defense. So I think he's an X factor, and also I think Kawhi Leonard has to take that next step in being maybe I don't think he's the number one offensive option with LaMarcus there, but he definitely needs to be 1B or option number 2. He needs to be aggressive offensively because he has it in his game, and I think Pop is trying to get it out of him. He's been trying to get it out the last 2 seasons, and Kawhi's kind of a laid back, reserved kind of dude, or at least that's the persona he puts out. And so I don't know if he has that. I don't know if he has that sort of killer's instinct offensively. He definitely has it defensively.
Yeah.
He's the toughest person. I think he's the best perimeter defender, him and Tony Allen. But I think taking that next step offensively and really demanding the ball and demanding shots is the next step for Kawhi. And I think he'll do that this season. Yeah,
definitely, because Kawhi showcases the potential of being such a great offensive player, but he doesn't always necessarily demand the ball and attack as much as he possibly could. So, like you said, Pop needs to get that out of him, but defensively, he's a monster. His arms are so long, quick hands. He's racking up steals. He's blocking shots. He's always setting up fast break for everybody and himself. So I love Kawhi Leonard. My X factor, though, too, is going to be probably the health of Tony Parker and then just the rest of these guys. They do have some older guys like Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, David West, Boris Diaw, all getting up there in age. They need a healthy team to really compete in the West just because it's so talented. But let's talk best case scenario for the Spurs.
Championship, NBA championship. That's what these teams in the top 5, 6 play for, and that's their ultimate goal.
Yeah, best case, they win the championship. Duncan gets to go out on top, possibly Ginobili too. Maybe they retire and they just walk away, and it's a great season for the Spurs. And now they have LaMarcus and Kawhi leading the pack for the next couple of seasons.
You know, it's interesting that I mean, you can go try to figure this out in even your local rec center or something. You know, when you're shooting around and you get on a consecutive streak with makes, and then you miss one, and you're like, nah, I can't end on a miss. So I got to shoot another one. And so you shoot another one and you make it, but you also don't want to end on a make. You want to see how many you can make in a row. And so you keep doing that, and it's that cycle. I think Kobe Bryant was talking about that specific scenario when he was on Grantland's Basketball Hour. And I don't know how these guys can retire on top like that. Like, I would want, if I was Tim Duncan, if I won, I'm sure he's won a ton already, but I would want to see if I could defend my championship and win another. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I don't know if this is his last season, and also because Aldridge is there and is now the focal point, Tim Duncan will be able to rest. He'll. I mean, it's not going to be a spot minute sort of thing for him, but he's going to be able to rest and not be the focal point of the offense. So I think adding LaMarcus could extend his career even further.
Yeah, and the point is too is he could get a couple more games off than he usually does. We know Pop's not afraid to rest his players, especially for those primetime games. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Just going back to him resting in primetime games, you know what? This describes the Spurs perfectly. They'll rest their top players, and they'll still be competitive and even win those primetime games.
It's
That's
crazy.
San Antonio in a nutshell.
It's that system. It's nuts. And it's the coaching. They do a great job. Everyone knows how to play. They know to be in their spot. They know their roles. It's a great team, great organization. You hate the Spurs, but you have to respect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, well, this team is built for a championship now, and anything less than that would be my worst case scenario. They've collected all these pieces, and I think it's definitely championship or bust for this team. So the worst part my worst case scenarios would definitely be them not being able to come out of the West.
Yeah, my worst case would be like maybe they struggle a little bit to get things going this year just because the West is so tough. They don't land a great seed, and they possibly could get knocked out in the first round just because the West is so tough. There's so many good teams, and if you don't get that home court advantage, it can really hurt you.
Right. I think the difference between the top 6 is so minimal at this point that, I mean, there's probably that one. I think throughout the season you'll find that elite team or two in the West, but that doesn't mean they can lose in the postseason. So I think getting that first or second seed and you in the first round and you end up with a 7th or 8th playing a 7th or 8th seed, I think that's incredible for whoever gets those two. I think it's incredibly lucky because 3 and 6 and 4 and 5 are going to be insane series in the first round.
Exactly. And you get that extra rest that can end up really helping your team, especially if you're dealing with a few banged up guys. Those few days can really pay off.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the truth.
What do you have for the truth today, Nick?
Today I have the championship because there's definitely a championship in the future of the Spurs. They're just too good to not win one in the coming years.
You know, and we were discussing this off the podcast, like, hey, it's championship or bust this season. But it's been like that for the last 15 years for this team. Like, they've been so good since Tim Duncan has arrived. I think they've won 50 games every season, excluding lockout years, and they probably have a winning percentage above whatever winning 50 out of 82 is, whatever that percentage is. They've probably had that in those 2 lockout years too. And
yeah,
so this team has been incredibly consistent in championship or bust, basically for Tim Duncan's entire career.
It's a great time to be a Spurs fan. I don't want to hear one Spurs fan complain about the last 15 years of basketball. They've been in a great spot.
And I think it's been what now? It's going to be. I think we underestimated or undervalued them by saying 15. I think it's like 17 now.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's honestly awesome. You got to respect it. Let's talk about League Pass. Are you going to watch the Spurs on League Pass this year?
Well, the Spurs have. I want to make sure this is correct. Shout out to SBnation for their NBA schedule breakdown, which is perfect because it allows me to tell you guys how many national TV games the Spurs will have, and they will have 21, which is a good amount, I think. I don't know what they had last year, but a couple of seasons ago, they were like one of the best teams in the league, like they are every year. But they were like elite a couple seasons ago, and they didn't really have many national TV games, which is surprising because they don't have that superstar per se that's in like every commercial and all that kind of stuff. But they have easily one of the most enjoyable play styles that you could watch on TV, just because of all the passing, all the ball movement, all the shooting. It's like people are playing soccer out there. That's how the Spurs make basketball look. In soccer, people love watching the build-up and the passing and the movement to open spaces, and the Spurs play a similar way. And so I'll definitely be tuning in to watch the Spurs play on national TV and on League Pass.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch a ton of Spurs games. Like you said, they take advantage of floor spacing so well. They throw great passes. They just know what they're doing. They know how to play basketball. And I definitely am interested to see how LaMarcus Aldridge comes in and like how he does his first part of the season, because that'll definitely tune me into extra Spurs games that I might not regularly watch. So I'll definitely catch a lot of their games this year.
I think for him, I think if you go to the Spurs, regardless of your stature in the NBA, you will play to their style. Just because it's worked for so long. Like there's nothing you can say that will throw the Spurs or will make the Spurs change their style, just because it's been so successful. If you can fit a role for this team, you have to play within that system.
Yeah, and I don't think Popovich would have picked up Aldridge if he didn't think that he would fit into his system. So you know what I mean? It's going to be definitely fun to watch. Parth, would you rather watch the Spurs or that new show, The Grinder?
The Grinder looks hilarious. It's Rob Lowe and Fred Savage, and Fred Savage is I think those two are brothers in the show. Mm-hmm. And Rob Lowe he's an actor. He's acting being an actor on a TV show, which is funny. But his role is he plays an actor on TV playing a lawyer. So he's not a real lawyer, but Fred Savage, who's his brother, is a real lawyer, and their dad's a lawyer. And so I think it's a story of Rob Lowe trying to be a real lawyer after playing a TV lawyer without any like training or anything like that. And so it looks really funny from I think it's on Fox.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's on Fox. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. And I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. Let's see what you pick, and then I'll go after that.
They couldn't be a more complete opposites. Like the Spurs are serious and all about their business, winning games, and that show just looks like so funny. You're gonna have an actor trying to be a real life lawyer. I love Rob Lowe. I think he's mad funny. I love them on Parks and Rec, but I'm gonna go with the Spurs just because I love ball movement.
You know what? I'm gonna make a shocking upset here and go with the Grinder.
Oh, Popovich.
I don't watch too much TV, and so this could be another show for me. So we'll go with the Grinder.
Oh, Popovich won't be happy with you. But
I know he's gonna give me some one-word answers next time I talk to him on the
phone. All right, thank you guys for listening. And our next team, they're in range as soon as they step on the court.